I caught a tremendous fish and held him beside the boat, half out of water with my hook fast in a corner of his mouth. He didn't fight. He hadn't fought at all. He hung a grunting weight, battered and venerable and homely. Here and there his brown skin hung in strips like ancient wallpaper, and its pattern of darker brown was like wallpaper, shapes like full-blown roses stained and lost through age. He was speckled with barnacles, fine rosettes of lime, and infested with tiny white sea lice, and underneath 2 or 3 rags of green weed hung down, while his gills were breathing in the terrible oxygen, the frightening gills, fresh and crisp with blood, that can cut so badly. I thought of the coarse white flesh packed in like feathers, the big bones and the little bones, the dramatic reds and blacks of his shiny entrails, and the pink swim bladder like a big peony. I looked into his eyes, which were far larger than mine, but shallower and yellowed, the irises backed and packed with tarnished tinfoil seen through the lenses of an old Strach isinglass. They shifted a little, but not to return to my stare. It was more like the tipping of an object toward the light. I admired his sullen face, the mechanism of his jaw, and then I saw that from his lower lip, if you could call it a lip, grim, wet, and weapon-like, hung 5 old pieces of fish line, or 4 in a wire leader with the swivel still attached, with all their 5 big hooks, a green line frayed at the end where he broke it, 2 heavier lines, and a fine black thread still crimped from the stain and snap when it broke and he got away. Like metals with their ribbons frayed and wavering, the 5-haired beard of wisdom trailing from his aching jaw. I stared, and victory filled up the little rented boat, from the pool of bilge where oil had spread a rainbow around the rusted engine, to the baler rusted orange, the sun-cracked thwarts, the oarlocks on their strings, the gunwales, until everything was rainbow, rainbow, rainbow. And I let the fish go. In the beginning, Bishop establishes the setting of the poem, in a boat, which is in some body of water. She diminishes the expected strength of the fish by first calling it tremendous, but then revealing that it hadn't put up a fight. She then goes into a long, detailed description of the fish, using comparisons to wallpaper, flowers, and feathers. Bishop then gives some power back to the fish by calling it frightening, weapon-like, and coarse. The narrator then notices that the fish has 5 hooks in its lip, which indicates that it narrowly escaped death 5 times. This time, however, it gave up. The narrator sees this catch as a victory and describes the scene as filled with rainbows, which was really oil from the engine spilling into the water. She has a change of heart and decides to show mercy to the animal who had given up fighting for its own life. Subject. Simply put, this poem is about a fish. The majority of the poem is spent giving physical characteristics of the fish and its nooks and crannies. On the surface, there seems to be very few whistles and bells to this poem. However, the connection needs to be made between the fish and Bishop, the author of this poem, in order to garner meaning. Occasion. It is not specified where this poem takes place. However, it can be assumed that the setting is in a pond, river, or lake of some sort. A time period is also not specified. However, this lack of setting description indicates that this event can take place at any time. Audience. Although there is no clear audience established, Bishop wrote this as a self-reflective piece, sublimating her venture of starting a new life into this work. Purpose. Bishop is the fish. The hooks on the lip, the blood on the gills, all represent the tribulations Bishop herself went through. Her father died before she was a year old, and when Elizabeth was 5 years old, her mother was institutionalized. The various descriptions, such as the barnacles on its surface of the fish, are Bishop's defining characteristics. The fish does not struggle, which represents Bishop's general cavalier attitude as life repeatedly throws stones at her. She does not fight, nor does she break. As the narrator witnesses the journey, she sees a new beginning. For the first time, she sees hope. She lets go of the fish, starting her new journey, as they both begin to start again. The fish is a survivor, just like her. Speaker. Elizabeth Bishop, the author of this poem, is also the speaker of this poem. The speaker is very attentive and pays very close attention to detail, evidenced by the specific diction. However, the entire poem is focused on descriptions of the fish, so it could be argued that the narrator is an omniscient observer, through the eyes of Bishop, of the events of Bishop's and the fish's life. Tone. The speaker is, at first, jubilant at the catching of the fish. The attitude of pride is portrayed in the phrase, "tremendous fish." This jubilance is then turned to observation and awe at the complexities of the physical features of the fish, indicated in Bishop's descriptive, heavily detailed syntax. The more the narrator stares at the fish's eyes, the more the tone shifts to introspection, as she begins to see the fish and herself as one and the same.